Hi, and welcome to New Mexico Rising. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we bring celebrities and people of who's who all across the country to chat right here on The Silly Show. Sunday mornings on KRQE. If you want to be part of the show, all you got to do is email me. I got an email. It's newmexicorising@gmail.com. It's on the screen. So email me. We'll talk to you about your business. You can come right here to the Red Room, or I could go to your business and you can tell us about some events or cool things happening right here in New Mexico so we can tell other New Mexicans what is going on. On today's show, we got some cool stuff going on. A little later, I got the cast of Jesus Revolution. It's a new movie hitting theaters all across the country. They're going to be sitting down telling us all about it. Plus, is your house HVAC and all that ready for winter? I know it's halfway through winter, but there's some maintenance we got to do. I have someone that's here to talk all about it and what you can do to keep your house up and running. Plus, much more right here on New Mexico Rising. You know, in 2022, over 2.5 million middle and high school students reported current e-cigarette usage. That's a higher number than what was happening in 2021. So what can be done to address this? Joining us to discuss the youth vaping epidemic and an innovative free digital curriculum with resources to help young people quit called Vaping Know the Truth are Amy Taylor, Chief of Community Engagement at Truth Initiative, and Sabrina Taylor, Career Technical Higher Educational Investigations Teacher. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. How did we get to this point, Amy?
You said it at the opening, more than 2.5 million high school and middle school students are vaping. What's of big concern to us is that of those high school students who are vaping, nearly half of them are doing so on a regular basis. This means that they're addicted to the product and it has negative impacts on their developing brains.
All right, Sabrina, how have you seen the youth vaping epidemic impact your students?
There has been a negative impact on our students. I'm a middle school teacher at Arlington Independent School District. And what I've noticed is it's like a trifecta effect. It affects them mentally, socially, and academically. I say academically because if they're not in a classroom, they can't learn. Socially, they're withdrawn. Mentally, they're more anxious, or just they're even trying to see when is the next time they can go and vape. So it's really had a negative impact.
So, Amy, what resources are available to educate young people about the dangers of e-cigarettes usage and to help those that are already using the e-cigarettes and help them quit?
Well, we know that when young people have the facts, they're going to feel empowered and they're going to make informed decisions, which is why we are so excited about our free digital curriculum called Vaping Know the Truth. And it's available to every school district across the country. It teaches young people about the harmful impact of vaping. It talks about how vaping can negatively impact their mental health, but it also provides solutions.
So, Sabrina, what has been your experience using the Vaping Know the Truth curriculum, and how has it helped your students?
What I've noticed is that it's causing our students to have the peer-to-peer conversations amongst themselves, as well as they're feeling more open to even come talk to me as a teacher. Some of the feedback is, I didn't know that e-cigarettes had more nicotine in it than regular cigarettes, or I'm never going to try vaping, or I need to find a way to try and quit. So I'm really, really appreciative of this curriculum because it's going to help our students and their parents and anybody else that needs information about e-cigarettes.
All right, kids, you know the truth is out there. So, Amy, where can we go for more information about vaping?
Absolutely. And we have resources for parents too. So if you want information about our curriculum called Vaping Know the Truth, or our quit program called This Is Quitting, go to truthinitiative.org.
There you go. Check it out. Thank you, too, for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Is it ethical? Is it smart? Or how would you feel if you had the chance to shut off your brain for the 8 hours that you're at work and then go back to home and forget everything that happened at work? Well, that's what's happening in the new TV series on Apple TV Plus called Severance. And today we have Tramell Tillman here to talk a little bit about his role in that show. Because, you know, last week we had Adam Scott on the show. He talked about it a bit. But Tramell, Thank you for being part of the show today.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Glad to be here.
All right, I gave a really bad synopsis of the show. Can you do a better one? 'Cause,
I mean, I thought it was pretty spot on. You did good, Dan. Well, you know, the show focuses on a company called Lumen that changes the way they do business by presenting a strictly volunteer program where you could separate your work life from your personal life. So you would undergo a procedure, they put a chip in your head, and when you enter the severed floor of the Lumen building, you become your workie, or your innie, I should say. And you work there for 8 hours, and then once you leave the severed floor, the chip deactivates, and then you are your outie, if you will. So the innie never knows the life of the outie, and the outie never knows the life of the innie.
That's really an interesting concept, because for some jobs that I've had in my life, I think that sounds like an absolutely awesome idea, but...
I get it, because I've been there. I've had some of those jobs where I was like, can you just send someone else or just let the hours go quickly?
Absolutely, and I've heard that you have been kind of excited about this new position because this is kind of the first time that you're stepping into a bigger role in television, and it's been kind of a culture shock starting to realize that you're one of the main characters in a TV show. Can you tell me about your experience, like going from, yes, Broadway and some smaller roles, but now finally landing a first-time, full-time, big job in a series? What's that like?
It's totally, like, I can't even explain it. It's surreal, it's exciting, it's a dream come true. You know, pounding the pavement in New York and LA and all over the country, and then being able to come here and work with these fantastic actors, this fantastic director, Ben Stiller, and this wonderful team has been absolute blast. And, you know, my whole thing is, you know, make sure you honor it. You know, don't make the writer regret that, you know, you were part of this show. And so far, it's been an absolute joy to be able to craft this character and to see how many people have responded to Milchick viscerally, you know.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of, working with Ben Stiller, I ran into him and Adam Scott a couple weeks ago over at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Nice.
The thing is what's it like working with Ben Stiller? Did you have like preconceived notion of it being more comedy, and then when you guys work on such a really intense but yet subtly comedic sci-fi thriller, how is that working with him?
Well, I really thought that this set would be bananas, right? Because he does so many comedic productions, you know. But he's very sharp, he's very serious, he's very exacting, but also very collaborative as well. He's always asking us questions about the character. He wants us to be able to talk about the show with each other, to be able to find out what this world is. And, you know, our very first season, you know, we were shooting through the height of COVID and trying to figure out what is this show and what is the story, what's the tone, if you will. And so Dan Erickson, the show creator, our showrunner, Mark Friedman, and Ben have all been really instrumental for us to find that road in. So I'm really grateful that Ben has been, you know, the leader at the helm, guiding us through all of this.
And you guys were shooting through the height of COVID, and it doesn't really look like it, though some of the scenes are very sparse with people. How was it working through some of the protocols in that? Because some movies, you could tell, oh yeah, these two actors aren't even in the same room. This wasn't even shot on the same day. I don't even know if they're even standing on the same whatever. But yeah, how was it working on that?
Well, it was really all hands on deck. You know, our health and safety team were really on the front lines, making sure that they established protocol so that we stayed safe. The network was following protocol as well. You know, our producers made sure that we were safe. We were, you know, separated when we needed to be. We tested all the time. We really wanted to make sure that we weren't putting each other in danger. And there were times, because, you know, when we were filming, this was before the vaccine came out. So we would walk around with masks, and there's still members of the crew. I have no idea what they look like because we still wear our masks on set. So this was a true exercise in trust and patience and communication. And I am in awe of what blossomed.
Well, thank you, Tramell, for hanging out with me this morning. And definitely check out Severance. It's a show that I absolutely love. It's dark, it's creepy, it's funny, and it has a lot of cool sci-fi insight. So definitely check it out. It's available now on Apple TV+. Thank you for joining me, Tramell.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And coming up next, is your HVAC okay for the winter?
Do you know you're supposed to be replacing it every 30 to 90 days?
Every 30 to 90 days? That's insane. And coming up a little later, we have the cast of Jesus Revolution, new movie hitting theaters. We'll talk to them. If you haven't prepped your home for winter yet, it's not too late. You know, home improvement expert Breegan Jane is here to discuss, the importance of preventative and ongoing winter home maintenance and simple ways to avoid those costly repairs down the line. Welcome to the show, Breegan. How are you?
Thank you, Dan, for having me. I mean, this is such an important conversation with the ever-changing weather and the demands it's having on our homes.
Okay, so what projects top the list this winter when it comes to keeping that home maintenance?
Dan, when's the last time you replaced your air filter? This is
Never.
something every one of my clients forgets, myself included. Do you know you're supposed to be replacing it every 30 to 90 days?
Every 30 to 90 days? That's insane.
Every 30 to 90 days.
I don't think I've ever done it. I'm sorry.
We're demanding a lot out of our HVAC systems, and they work really hard for us, but doing simple things like that actually help them work better and really get the most for us out of the ones who are really enjoying that temperature-controlled environment. So that's the easiest thing I just want to shout from the rooftops. Everyone can go do. It doesn't require a professional. It's a do-it-yourself job. It's inexpensive, and you're going to put a lot of years back on your units.
So what are some seasonal updates that we should always follow?
So definitely check your crawl spaces, your attics, anywhere where the air's leaking out or insulation that you can update. That again is going to require more from your HVAC system. And when your HVAC system is working hard, guess what? It's costing you more money. So these are things we can do and look at around our house that's just going to help us prepare for the times we really need to kick those things into gear.
So when should we consider calling in the pros for help?
I think sometimes there's some noises, there's some things going on with our units, or we just feel a little bit in over our heads. And so Trane actually makes it super easy to have a Trane comfort specialist come out to your house and check on all these things for you. And that's literally just going to their website, trane.com, clicking Find a Dealer, put in your zip code, and they'll send somebody out to do all the heavy lifting for you.
Well, Breegan, thanks for joining me this morning. Where can we go for more information, or is there anything else that we should know?
Well, definitely the next question I always get is when to repair or replace. So I want to just tell everyone my easy $5,000 rule, which is if it's under $5,000, then it's probably appropriate to repair your system. But if it's over $5,000, consider making that investment. And the way you come up with that math is you take the age of your unit, so if it's 2 years old, 10 years old, times the cost of the repair. If you're under $5,000, repair it. If you're over $5,000, consider replacing it.
That's a pretty good tip to go with that. Yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to keep that in mind forever. For everything now.
People stress about, what do I do? So that's an easy one. 5, it's on one hand. If you forget, one hand, $5,000, over, under. That's how I can simplify it for you guys.
Well, thank you for that. Is there anything else, or where can we go for more information?
No, definitely head to trane.com to get ready for all of the weather changes and the seasonal, updates that we sometimes forget about.
Well, Breegan, you are a hero to keeping our HVACs set year round.
Give our home some love. They hold us,
Well, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Getting into the mind of a serial killer would be a very difficult job to do, especially when you actually have to play a serial killer for a new TV series on Apple TV+. But today, we actually have actor and comedian Walter Hauser hanging out with me. Paul, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, Dan. How's everything on your neck of the woods?
So far, it's going okay. And that's what I got today. At least I'm not going to jail for 10 years and have to hang out with a serial killer to try to get out of jail a little easier.
You know, you're right. It could always be worse, right?
Yeah, it's just above that. I think that's where base level of my life is just above that. So thank you for that. You got a new series on Apple TV Plus. It's called Blackbird, and you're playing a serial killer, and it's based on some true events. This sounds insane.
Yeah, Blackbird is about it's based on a true story. Of course, this guy Jimmy Keene got locked up for 10 years for weapons charges and drugs and all these things. He goes away for 10 years, but he's given the opportunity to shave off the rest of his sentence and be a free man if he goes undercover in a maximum security prison to befriend a serial killer and get a forced confession out of him.
And you've played some really notorious characters like Richard Jewell, and you're busting caps in I, Tonya. How did you get into like the mind of people like this?
You know what? I think I just look like some of those guys. I don't, they're not going to go to Ryan Gosling for some of these psycho, unhealthy character dudes. So they come to me. But the way I get in the mindset is just being really, really specific. Great acting for me. I've always judged it by specificity and commitment and a lack of vanity. Because who wants to be seen as ugly or deplorable or scary by the masses? But there's something really honest about it, because there are really disgusting, horrible people that are doing so covertly, and they live in plain sight pretending to be good people. So I kind of switch it and get to try to live my life as a good guy, but play these odious weirdos.
Yeah, and for this one, you're jumping into the mind of a serial killer that has some true stories back there. How did you feel like doing that?
I just approach it like I would any other role. You try to humanize the person and figure out what it is that they want, how they may have become who they became. And then you have to commit to the things that aren't, I can look at Larry Hall and say, I understand what it means to be lonely. I understand what it means to be, to feel marginalized socially. But then the things you can't relate to, like the desire to hurt young women, you just have to commit to it as if it is true. And that's sort of what acting is. It's lying, it's pretending, it's, you tell me to be a kangaroo, I don't normally hunch my back and hop around and add weight to my front belly. But if you're telling me I got to play a kangaroo, I'm going to commit to it. You know what I mean?
All right, well, there you go. Commit to the bit. Paul Walter Hauser, thanks for hanging out with me this morning. Check out his new series, Blackbird. It's available to watch right now on Apple TV+. Thank you very much, bud.
Thanks, bud.
And coming up next, we chat with Charmaine Bingwa, one of the stars in the movie Emancipation. And coming up a little later, Jesus Revolution. It's a revolution with Jesus. Hippies going to church. We'll talk about it right here on New Mexico Rising. Welcome back to New Mexico Rising. I am honored to have our next guest from the movie Emancipation. Yes, it has been nominated for five NAACP awards, and it's an honor to have Charmaine Bingwa here on the show today. Welcome to the show, Charmaine. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Thanks so much, Dan. Good to be here.
So it looks like you guys have, Best Motion Picture, Best Ensemble Cast in Motion Picture, Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Directing in a Motion Picture, and Best Outstanding Costume Design. Congratulations. That's a ton of awards.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this one, so it's nice that it's been seen in this way.
So working on this movie, what were some of the things that you had to come think about when getting into it? I know working with Will Smith and trying to get into the mindset of things that were happening a long time ago. How do you get into those type of roles?
Yeah, I think you just have to approach it from every angle. You need to make sure you know the historical period. You need to make sure you're emotionally prepared. You're prepared with your scene partner, and and just making sure that you're telling the right story. I mean, it was such a beautiful script. Wanted to honor that, and also, I personally did a lot of research into enslaved narratives to make sure that their experiences were being told and shown on screen.
When you're giving so much honor to some of the people of the past that you're trying to reflect the lives of that have, how does that feel?
Yeah, it makes you really proud. You know, I love my job at the best of times, but when it really connects with your heart, it's just like the greatest privilege on earth. And, you know, I feel even privileged to know these people's stories. To me, they're some of the bravest people to walk the earth, and, you know, they deserve to be honored. It's so amazing what their presence and time on this planet has given all of us.
And it really kind of opens our eyes to some of the horrible things that people have done in the past, but it also shows some of the bravery and heartwarming moments of the people that had to live through this. Can you tell me your experience of like having to step into those shoes and try to show people's lives?
Yeah, and I think that is the story. The story is the bravery. The story is the ability for one man to take on an entire system. The story is like always persevere and never lose hope. And, you know, and it's also like a cautionary tale, you know, there's a lot more hateful ideologies and divisiveness creeping in our times. And I think it's just a reminder that, you know, love and freedom always, and we never want to revisit those times again.
That's very, very true. But we also have to learn from all of our mistakes in the past. So at least telling the stories of those that lived through it needs to be done, because we don't want those stories to just disappear to history.
Absolutely. You know, and Antoine and I often speak of this film in the way that it's a love letter to our ancestors. You know, we just want to thank them. We want to honor them. And it's our way to say that we respect their contributions across space and time.
Well, thank you for joining me this morning, Charmaine.
My absolute pleasure, Dan. Thank you.
That is Charmaine Bingwa from Emancipation, and congratulations on all those nominations. Hopefully, you're going to walk away with everything. That's all I'm going to say, is that you and your team are fabulous, and you're going to walk away with it all.
Appreciate you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So what do you do when you don't want a bunch of stinky hippies coming to your church? Well, guess what? You invite them. In the new movie, Jesus Revolution, that's exactly what they do, and it causes a huge revolution. And today, we're talking with Courtney and Anna Grace Barlow about their new movie that's going to be theaters on the 24th. Hello, you two. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Doing great.
Okay, so tell me about this story. I know it takes place in the 1970s. It's a true story. What was your perspective on it?
You know, it's an incredible story of this revival that sweeps through the whole nation, and it brings alive the church, pretty much. I mean, it revitalizes this tired, kind of like broken down, closed off system of like religion. And, you know, it starts with these, you know, hippies that you wouldn't think that would be at the core of the situation. And it's this beautiful relationship, young love, you know, overcoming struggles, and, you know, love conquering all in the church and also in, you know, relationship.
Well said.
And jumping into like a period film, how is that when you get into the shoes of days ago and you see the sets and you feel like you've walked back in time? What is that experience like for you guys?
Oh, isn't it so much easier to do a period piece? Because you walk in and you're like, I am this character because I didn't exist yet, like in this world. And it's cool to like, the production value was amazing. The costumes, incredible. And so it was very, very easy to step into the very cool shoes of like both of these people, because everything around us just created that amazing, very, you know, real environment. It was great.
I've always said that one of the things that really allowed me to get into character every day was when my sideburns went on. I was in character, because that's not what I have, obviously. And so like it was one of those things where it was like a triggering moment every morning. Sideburns go on, and like that was my deep dive into the 70s right there.
Yeah.
I was just like in.
Oh yeah.
That's how you get into your acting chops, by having pork chops.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Acting pork chops. That's good.
Acting pork chops.
You like that? How was it working with Kelsey Grammer, Frasier? This is great.
Legend. The
Unreal. He's so cool. And we were talking about this earlier. He is so passionate about the story and about acting in general. it's so inspiring, and it made me realize, like, maybe one day, hopefully, if I get to be as seasoned as he is or work as long as he has, I will still have that kind of joy and, like, nerdiness for acting. Kelsey's not a nerd, but, like, you know what I mean. Like, he has that passion for it, and he was just so kind and so great, and his performance is incredible. He elevated everybody.
Absolutely.
Did you just say the words Dr. Fraser Crane is not a nerd?
Listen, he is Fraser. We just said that every day on set. We're like, Fraser, baptize me.
That's great. That's great. So when working on this film, what was it like working with the aspect of religious and non-religious peoples kind of coming together and trying to spread the word of peace and love?
Well, the message of peace and love is very transcendent. And so, you know, a lot of people can get on board with that message from multiple different angles. And that's kind of what my experience was on set, you know. Personally, I'm a Christian, and, you know, there's people on set who aren't. And there's not a problem with that. There's this phenomenal story that we're telling. And, you know, there was passion and joy from, like, everyone on set to tell this story, and an excitement.
Yes.
I mean, the script is so good. The story is so beautiful. And these characters are just so, like, moving. And what they're going through is heartbreaking and powerful. And, you know, there was a love for the work and an open-mindedness for the story. And, you know, that's all you can hope for, really.
Yeah, and it's amazing when a script moves you so much, and then to have it translate to screen in the way that this movie does is all you can ever hope for. To have, like, a script like that reads like that translates so well. Yeah. We're so excited.
Well, thank you too very much. Yeah, I agree with the peace and love message for sure, and at least it's a good enough message to make itself on the cover of a Time magazine. So,
yeah.
Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Joel and Anna, you should check out their brand new movie, Jesus Revolution. It is going to be in theaters on the 24th. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
And that is it for the little show we like to call New Mexico Rising. If you want to be part of it, just email us at the bottom of the screen, newmexicorising@gmail.com. If you get us any events before Tuesdays, we could probably get you on the next show. So please email us, tell us what's going on, and I'll just mention it right here at the end of the show, right before the news, every week on New Mexico Rising. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll see you next week.